Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Smite Patch Analysis. So today we're going to be going over the Victory Lap patch notes, aka patch 3.3. So there's a lot of new god skins. Now normally I'd skip over these, but these do look really good, so I'm going to go over them anyway. So we've got Devil Horns Raijin, which sort of goes along with the heavy metal skin for Thor. This looks really cool. I'll definitely be getting this one. I'll also be getting Reprotect Thanatos, which sort of goes along with the Ragnarok X skin we saw for Thor in the Odyssey this year. Now, this sort of makes up for me for Archon Thanatos, which I didn't manage to get in the Odyssey for Season 1, I believe it was, because I went to buy, I bought half the Odyssey, ran out of gems, went to add more the Weekend of Worlds, and then I didn't realise that they'd already removed the ability to buy all of the items. So yeah, that sucks, but I wasn't able to get that skin. So Reprotect Thanatos sort of makes up for that. It looks really cool as well. Now, Guttersniper Cupid is a really cool skin as well. That's sort of like an Oliver Twist, chimney sweep, British type thing. Now, the chimney sweep brush is coming up for the ultimate, looks really, really cool. If you want to see how these skins sort of work in game, you can go to the Smite Game Twitch channel and look at the VOD of the patch notes stream that Ponpon and Hindu Man did earlier. I'll leave a link to that in the description along with a link to this website as well if you want to have a look at the patch notes and sort of go over the ones that I will skip out, because I skip out a lot of the miscellaneous ones because they don't really change that much. Now, the only problem I have with this skin being British is the fact that his 2 has been replaced by cans of beans. The hearts are now cans of beans. Now, I don't get that, because since when were cans of beans a British thing? Like, I'm British, I don't... Like, I've seen Americans have cans of beans. I don't see it as like a typically British thing. I don't know. I mean, maybe it is, and I've just slept through life and not really noticed. But to me, something like cups of tea would have been a lot more British and a lot more stereotypical if that's what they were going for with this skin. Like, I drink a lot of tea, and people are always like, "Oh my God, you're so British," which makes sense because I'm British, you know. But I don't know. Cups of tea would have been better for me as well, considering I like tea. So yeah, that would have been great. But I don't know what hires were thinking. I don't know. Maybe cans of beans is British, but I don't think it is. Moving on to Epsilon Sol. Epsilon. Hopefully that's a pun that they made and not one that I just made up, because otherwise I now sound like I make really bad jokes, which I do. But anyway, so Sol has easy life, easy game, easy life written on her legs, which is kind of funny, kind of BM. But it's all blue. I really like the colour blue, so this skin looks really nice for me. I also like how they've implemented the Epsilon logo into the effects of some of the abilities. That looks really cool as well. And the glowing white logo fits really well into sort of the blue flames and everything. So that looks really cool. So tier 2 Jingtian skin, it's a tier 2 skin, so nothing too special there. And then the Soul Mastery skins. Now, I do agree with Hindu Man on this. The diamond skin looks like Sol is wearing a dress. Go and have a look at it in-game on the live stream that I'll link in chat. It does look like she's wearing a dress with the diamond skin. Yeah. Let me know in the comments if you agree with that or not. Be interested to see just how many people agree with that, because I know there was some sort of, like, on the actual live stream, some people were like, no, it doesn't. Some people were like, yeah, it does. So, new voice packs for the Guttersniper Cupid, Reprotect Thanatos, and Devil Horns Raijin skins. Some new achievements added. Map related, the fire elementals now have a respawn timer under them after you kill them. Relics Frenzy now has been buffed to do a little bit more, be a little bit more useful in the early game. It now does 10 true damage per hit against objectives. So Sunder has had the casting time reduced from 0.5 seconds to 0.2 seconds, so that's sort of going to make it a lot less clunky and make it work a lot smoother and leave you less exposed. Now the exciting changes, item changes. So Breastplate of Valor has had the cost increased from 2,100 to 2,300, and I'll come back to that in a second, but Bulwark of Hope has had the passive health reduced from 150 plus 15 per level to 150 plus 10 per level, and the shield effect now fades after 20 seconds if not depleted, and there's also an icon to show that duration now on the buff bar. Now, that shield effect fading is the most important change they've made, in my opinion. Bulwark of Hope was really, really strong. To be honest, it was probably overpowered, because you could, if you had that effect, that shield effect triggered just as you were getting out of a team fight, or when you weren't going to take much more damage, then you'd basically escape with that full shield still there, then you'd recall to base and then heal up, and you'd have that shield over your max health for the next team fight, which was really, really strong. As I say, I think basically overpowered. Now, the interesting thing with these two items is they're the two sort of typical items you'd get on a jungler like Thor. They tended to be my go-to defensive items on Thor and similar junglers. So there's sort of a bit of a thing. Do you go for Breastplate of Valor and Bulwark of Hope, or do you go for Mantle of Discord and then maybe Winged Blade if you need it? Now, Breastplate of Valor and Bulwark of Hope cost 4,625 gold. Now they're going to cost 4,825 gold. Now that brings it a lot closer to Mantle of Discord and Winged Blade, which together cost 4,950. So that difference is now only 125 gold, which isn't even that much, and I wouldn't really consider that, to be honest. So Mantle of Discord gives you the same magical protection as you get from Bulwark. It also gives you 60 physical protection, which is only 15 less than Breastplate of Valor. Gives you 15% cooldown reduction, which is 5% less than Breastplate of Valor. So not really too much of a sacrifice there. It's obviously also all your protections in one item at once, rather than having to buy two separate items for them. You also get the nice passive, which could help you get out of team fights and stuff like that. Now, if you want some extra health alongside with that, because you don't get the health from Bulwark or anything like that, you could go Winged Blade, which is also really useful against slows. Obviously, if you were just going to go Mantle of Discord, then it's way cheaper, and at this point I'd say it's way better because it's only 3,100 gold rather than the 4,825 that you would now be spending on Breastplate of Valor and Bulwark, but you can easily top that up with Winged Blade, which gives you some movement speed and attack speed, I think, along with some health, and then it also has the nice passive to help you cope with slows. So I definitely think Mantle of Discord and Winged Blade are going to sort of take the place of Breastplate of Valor and Bulwark of Hope, particularly in the sort of the jungling defensive items section. So Imperial Helmet has had a small cost reduction, nothing too exciting there, and then there's been effects to show when you gain stacks on Soul Eater, and also when the passive of Spear of Desolation is triggered. Now, there's a load of miscellaneous things there that I'm just going to skip over. God changes Amaterasu, thank heavens. See what I did there, because Heavenly Reflection. I'm so funny. Damage reduced from 50, 100, 150, 200, and 250 to 50, 90, 130, 170, and 210. Now, don't forget that that reduction is going to be doubled, because at full charge of her mirror shield thingy, the damage that it does is doubled, so therefore the reduction will then be doubled, so it's actually doing a lot less than it originally would. So that's quite a significant nerf to Amaterasu. I think she's probably going to be quite balanced now, but we'll just have to see. Now, Artemis's ult, Tusky has been changed, and this change might not seem like much, but depending on how it's implemented and how the mechanics of it work, which I guess we'll only see once the PTS comes up and we see how it actually works. This could be a massive buff to her ultimate, technically doubling the range. And you might be thinking, how the hell does that double the range? It now targets minions if no gods are available. Well, think of it like this. Normally if Artemis ulted and there were no gods in range, Tusky would just stand there, which was always quite funny to look at, because Tusky would just be like, what am I supposed to do? Help me. But now he will dash to minions. So imagine there's an enemy minion on the edge of the radius of the ultimate, but there are no gods. Tusky's then going to dash to that minion. He's then at that minion, which was on the edge of his original radius. So his radius now extends. He's now got his radius sort of with that minion that he's now dashed to at the center. So now can he then dash to a god which is further away? So if you imagine it like there are two gods, sort of like one's one sort of unit of distance away and one's 2 units of distance, and then the radius of Tusky's sort of range is 1 unit. He can dash to that first god and then dash to that second god. Does that sort of like going from one target to the other count on minions now? Is he going to be able to go to a minion on the edge of his range and then go to a god who is then on the edge of that range? Is that going to be a thing? If so, that could be... That's quite a significant buff if that's going to be the case, but I guess we'll see what actually happens when the patch is released. So on her, corrected an issue with his impale. Chiron, his passive no longer provides him a 10% healing bonus, and his one no longer cripples. Not a huge nerf, although that no longer cripples nerf is quite significant, I'd say. That could be a bit of a pain to deal with, but that's no longer going to be there. But nothing too major with him. Asis's Dispel Magic, which is her 3, the slow has been reduced from 35% to 20%. Now, that's quite significant because hitting your stun ball was easy when the target was slowed by 35%. Like, hitting that stun ball with the radius that it is, the size that it is really, really easy on a target that's been slowed for 35%. But with that reduced now to 20%, that's going to make her stun ball slightly harder to hit. It still shouldn't be too difficult, but it is going to sort of increase the difficulty of the stun ball, which is really good, because if you got hit by a stun ball late game Isis, you were basically dead unless you were a tank anyway. So that's a nice change to see. So fix the Odin base skin voice pack missing lines. Didn't really play Odin, so I never noticed that, but great, I guess, for Odin players. Ravana, his Prana Onslaught, which is his 1, has had the cooldown increased from 6 seconds to 8 seconds. That's really good. He can now that means he can no longer sort of use it if he's solo laning to clear wave and poke. So unless he gets poke and clear in the same ability, in the same use of the ability, he can't sort of use it on the wave and then use it on the enemy solo laner. He's going to have to sort of pick and choose between that. His overhead kick, which is the thing that immuned him to CC and damage and was just absolutely crazy, has had a massive cooldown increase, which means that he's just not going to be able, it's not going to be up every single time the enemy solo laner tries to poke him or attack him. So that sort of makes that slightly less useful. Obviously it's still a ridiculously strong ability, but if it's not up as often, then obviously you're going to have to be more careful about when you use it, and use it sort of more when you need to. Souls 2, finally! The recovery time in the current patch doesn't play properly sometimes, so you can basic attack instantly, and if you've got Polynomicon, that is basically broken, because it means that you can hit your 2, which does a crazy amount of damage, but then immediately after hit the auto attack, which obviously procs Polynomicon, and then it's just absolutely insane damage. But that's going to be fixed in the next patch, so that's great. And her 3 no longer stuns when she detonates, which means that it's going to be a lot easier to chase. So obviously, if you're in the middle of a wave, in the middle of a lane, you could or in an open space, you could just sort of sidestep that stun. But in closed spaces, sort of maybe in the area behind Gold Fury and the jungle, it was a lot harder to get out of that stun, and made Sol really hard to chase. And then improved the effects on the floor to indicate better the hit area better, so you'll be able to see when she is ulting around you. I didn't really think there was a problem with that, but maybe there was, I don't know. So all bladed throws / thrown axe has had a reduced mana cost, which is going to improve his ability to clear and also obviously to do damage in fights. And also the expose weakness and invigorate buffs that they give you are that his 2 gives you are no longer removed. So removed if he changes stance. Sorry. So that's really good. I think if you get the movement speed buff, I believe that invigorate gives you if you're in his axe stance, then that's no longer going to go away. If you change to bow stance, you're going to get the full duration of that. And sort of as a compromise of that, Hi-Rez have adjusted the cooldown to 18 seconds at all ranks. So I think overall that's a nice buff for all. So that's it for the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, leave a like and subscribe to see more. If you have any opinions or anything like that, leave them down in the comments. And yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Goodbye.